Y'all, I just ruined one of my favorite paintbrushes. I left it sitting in dirty paint water for over a week. Even after years of painting, I still catch myself making mistakes. And that got me to thinking, we all have bad painting habits that are holding us back. Today, I'm sharing the worst bad habits every painter needs to break ASAP, so you don't make the same mistakes I did. Plus, if you're ready to shake off those bad habits and start painting with confidence, I've got something exciting for you. Join me for the spring door hanger workshop. We'll be painting an adorable Highland cow door hanger together, and I'll walk you through it every step of the way. It's happening April 15th and 17th, and when you sign up, you'll get access to the printable template, supply list, and live instruction inside a private Facebook group. It's going to be so much fun, and I can't wait to paint with you. Now, let's get into 7 bad habits that every painter needs to break today. So, the first thing that is a big bad habit that people need to break is overloading your paintbrush. And so I'm going to kind of show you what that might look like as I paint this little gnome. The thing that you don't want to do is dop your brush down in there. Like, that's way too much paint, especially for something this small. And even if I was painting something larger, I definitely wouldn't want to gob it up on my paintbrush like this. So you actually only need about half this amount. So when I dip my brush, let me rinse this out so you can see the difference. So you're going to dip in just a little bit of paint. Look, I only loaded half the brush. I don't have it all the way up to the metal part. This is called the ferrule. You don't want the paint to get all the way up here. Do you see how it's a little bit darker on my bristles right up near that ferrule? That's because sometimes the paint does work its way up there. But if I were to paint every time I paint by gunking the paint onto here all the way up to the ferrule, that would get worse and worse and worse, and the buildup would be so hard to clean out over time. So by putting just a little bit on my brush, I'm able to control the amount of paint that I'm putting down at one time. Something else that I see you guys doing a lot, and this is sort of included in bad habit number 1, which is overloading the brush, would be underloading the brush. So I don't see this very often, but it's when you get hardly any paint on your brush, and then I see them just continuing to try to spread that paint everywhere, and it's just not going anywhere. So let me kind of show you what that might look like. So if I get just a teeny amount on my brush, and then I'm doing like this, am I getting very far? No, it's like it's taking forever to paint that. So that's underloading your brush. And I do see that from time to time, and it usually results in poor coverage and you don't get enough paint on the area that you're trying to paint. So just continue to redip. If you feel like you're not getting it to spread evenly, just keep redipping in the paint until you've got it covered. The next mistake I see people make is not letting the layers dry. So if I pick up my filbert tip brush and I get some white and I start painting on top of this, look what happens. I mean, if that's the intended effect you're going for, that's one thing, but we were trying to do white polka dots, so that doesn't work. So if this happens to you, if you're painting and you forget to dry between coats and you start to put another layer on top of something and it's not dry yet, I want you to stop everything you're doing, smooth out the paint as best you can. So I didn't really do that. Let me show you. Like right here where it's got this weird little streak, if I smooth this out and get the layers as smooth as possible, they'll dry faster. So we're gonna smooth, get it all even, then dry it. Okay, so we dried it. After we accidentally, smudged the paint together, it did make a really pretty pink. We rinsed our brush out. Now we're picking up white again, and we're just gonna go right back in on top of that area. And now that that paint is dry, it's gonna allow us to just add that back on there. Now, this probably will need another coat, but you get the picture. We get a much smoother white dot by doing it this way. Number 3, ignoring brush care. What does this mean? This might mean a little something different to each of you. How many of you guys are guilty of leaving your paintbrushes in the water way past the time you're done painting? I did this exact thing a few weeks ago. I was leaving on a trip, and right before I had gone live and painted with you guys, and I left my stinky, dirty water cup sitting over here with half a dozen brushes in it. And it sat there for over a week. And I was so disappointed because when I got home, this brush, I mean, there was more than one that were affected, but this one was the most affected. Look at the brush handle. It is now cracking and chipping, and that beautiful pink wooden handle is going to get worse and worse and worse, because once it starts doing this, it's going to keep doing this. And this happens because if your brush is in water, even if it's just a little bit of water, like this. Like if maybe this part is above the water, this can still happen. The water will draw its way up into the wooden handle and cause that wood to swell over time and split and crack. So that's why you should never leave your brushes in water that long. I really try hard to take my brushes to the kitchen sink and wash them out immediately after I'm done painting. One thing that I think people do is they get lazy and they will rinse their brushes in the cup and then they will just sit them over to the side on a paper towel and call that done. No, you need to take them to the sink and rinse all of the resins that were in that paint out of those bristles. Otherwise, you are going to begin to have buildup. And you don't always have to use soap. You can just use hot water or warm water. And I just run my hand over it like this over and over and over. And I'll flip it over and do it over and over and over on the other side, especially if I've been using glitter. And if I feel like I've been messy and it's gotten gunked way up in there, I'll kind of pull the bristles apart like this and really let them get in that hot water. And I might even use a brush scrubber if it's very bad. Next tip, which I just broke this rule a moment ago and didn't realize it, skipping the base coat. And I didn't realize it until I had already started to paint some red. But if you're going to be coating or painting a large area red, you might want to base coat it with like a gray or something like that. For example, I'm getting ready to paint his little beard gray, and I'm going to use sand gray for the beard, but I'm going to do like a base coat first of the titanium white. And so we're going to work on base coating this. And so this can help you save a little bit of time, get more even coverage. It just depends on what you're painting, right? So if I were doing a yellow flower, for example, I might want to base coat that flower in white or a mix of white and yellow, sort of as a primer coat. And like I just mentioned, if you're ever painting red, gray is a great primer under red. Something else I've done is when I'm painting with, say, like metallic gold paint, sometimes I'll do an undercoat of a yellow or depending on the shade of gold I'm going for, or an undercoat of like a tan, so that I get really even coverage with that gold paint. And now that we have this base coat down, I'm going to take a little bit of this sand gray and I might blend this with white to do his beard. That way it's not one solid coat of color. Okay, let's paint his little nose, and we're gonna move on to bad habit number 5, which is being too hard on yourself. I even do it, and I've been painting for probably 15 years now, and I still am too hard on myself sometimes. I will sit here and tell myself, oh, I should have done this, or I should have done that, or I didn't do very good on that lettering when I could have, or whatever. I will sit here and pick apart little choices that I made in a project. For example, perfect example, this project hanging up behind me, every time I see it now, I'm like, I should have gone with a lighter blue for the bar that goes across the sign. And I think that every time I look at it, I still pick it apart. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's just paint. Like the next time I teach you guys this, I can show you how to mix a little white with that color and we can make it a little lighter and I'll be happy with it. It'll be fine. Now, if I were to go up and over and accidentally get this on his little hat and make a mess of it and not stay within the lines of his nose. Here, let's make a mistake just so we can clean it up. Look, I accidentally got it on his hat. So I could get a baby wipe, or I could just grab my wet paintbrush. I just rinsed it out. All it's got on it is water. And I can sit here with a paper towel and water and kind of water it down a little bit and kind of scrub it. It's like you're cleaning it. This only works if the paint is still wet. Kind of clean it up a little bit, and then just start to sweep it away, and it's stuck almost too good. So if that doesn't work, let me see if a baby wipe will work. If not, we'll just get the red out and we'll touch it up. So now I'm going to take my baby wipe with my finger in there. I'm going to push down and kind of scrub it a little bit. Depending on how dry your red is, you may have to be careful doing that. I got most of it up, but if you look closely, it's definitely still there. Pick up a little bit more of that red, and we're just going to go through and touch up right next to the nose. Now, depending on what this was, if this was a door hanger and it was a bigger area that I knew I was going to be adding like black paint pen lines and stuff, I might just tell you to ignore that for a moment, because when you come back into your lines at the end of it, you're not going to notice some little spot where you accidentally got outside the line just a little bit. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to rinse that brush again. And number 6 bad habits is stopping before you add the finishing touches. So I'm going to kind of explain that a little bit more in detail, but for right now, I need to catch up by getting the rest of this painted before I can kind of show you exactly what that means. You should never stop before adding different extra details. We should always be willing to add more details that make it feel fun and make it feel personal to us. So if glitter's your thing, add some glitter. Maybe your thing is 3D elements, but you have to figure out like what your thing is, what you love adding to things to kind of make them feel special. I am touching up the edges where I got out of the lines with his little star real quick. And then we're gonna add white polka dots. You can't hardly see the white dots in the way the light was hitting it, but like, look, that's a lot cute. Like when I turn it, you can see them. Okay, this is an extra fine tip black pen. Let's just add some cute little lines. Oh, I think this was the right choice in size. This is the extra fine paint pen, so it's going to do some really fine details. And these lines are lasered on the door hanger. Or on the piece. They're a little harder to see, but you can see them if you want to follow them. And so it kind of just shows you where you could put some accent lines. Now it has some on the black down here, but that's not going to show up. So I'll do those in white in a moment. In the meantime, I'm just going to improvise and add a few more. Doing little details and lines like this do help distract from imperfections and things that might be bothering you about your project. So just be sure to add lots of little lines and details. Don't go overboard though, because if it's too much, then you might be frustrated with it. And then the 7th bad habit that every painter needs to break is letting go of fear that's holding you back. I would love to know in the comments right now, who is watching that has been a little too afraid to start a project, even a small project like this, that's let fear hold you back. Don't be afraid to do a fun little project like this. It is so fulfilling and satisfying to complete something. Even a small little project like this can make you feel very accomplished. If you can't afford to go and buy little wood blanks like this in my shop, run to the Dollar Tree the next time you're in town, pick up a couple of their cute little wood cutouts for spring and just sit down and paint. They even have paints in the Dollar Tree. They're not the greatest paints. They're not the best paints you'll ever find, but it will allow you to get started with something. You guys can do this. This is very simple. You guys know that if you follow me step by step, you'll be able to do it too. Yours may not look as good as you want it to look the first time you do it, but if you keep at it, you will get better. The brush will feel more natural in your hand each time you do it. The amount of paint you pick up will feel more natural every time you paint. Your intuition for what to do next and for what colors to pick next is going to be honed and worked on and practiced every time you paint. And so all of those things accumulate over time to where you are a more confident painter and you're able to just sit down and tackle any project that you want to tackle. All right, you guys, thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.